I find it interesting that the funniest part of this movie is that when the power went out in my theater, it was right at the moment where our heroes were at their lowest point, and everyone was just like, well, thanks, Disney. Everyone dies. Never seeing you again. The Mandalorian and Grogu follows the iconic bounty hunter duo as they go off to rescue Jabba the Hutt's son, Rota. And along the way, they might discover that things aren't really as simple as it may seem, and things might get a little bit more messy than even the New Republic can handle. I also should note that I became a big fan of Star Wars through The Force Awakens, and because of that, it's kind of been a tradition for me, my dad, all my siblings, all the guys, because none of the girls ever want to watch these movies, don't know why. We go to the movies in sort of a tradition to see all the mainline Star Wars movies, but since this isn't a mainline movie, we still all wanted to go, and even though it cost me $80 because I always pay for the tickets, I gotta say it was still a fun, enjoyable time for the most part, and I'm glad to have gone and seen, a Star Wars movie in these last 7 years with a lot of my family, and so yeah, I think I'll hold that very close. But for the most part, I think we just need to get straight into this movie and how I feel about it. Of course, we can't start anywhere better but the positives. And I have to say, if you're a big fan of The Mandalorian and at least the first two seasons and even season three for the most part, you're definitely going to enjoy what this movie has to offer. It's basically just another adventure with these two classic characters that everyone's grown to love, just going off and having fun. And for what it is, I think that is pretty much exactly what I went in knowing I was gonna love for the most part. Din Djarin to me still just feels like that ever iconic Mandalorian. He just hits all the right notes and all the right moments, and he just feels like the proper Mandalorian. And Pedro Pascal plays him well, and I love that the suit performer actually got top billing in the credits. Major shout out to that. Grogu is still cute and iconic. I still call him Baby Yoda to this day. I don't know what it is, but I just absolutely love him and what he's bringing to the movie. Even though he's just a little puppet that just makes like little noises like a baby, you just get that sense that these two are just that father and son dynamic that just fits so well for a type of adventure movie like this. I also love all the little side characters that we have in here and all the little twists and turns that we have going on with everything involving them. Sigourney Weaver plays a nice little supporting role. I love that we got Zeb from Star Wars Rebels. Always loved that little cartoon. And obviously, we got Jeremy Allen White as Rada the Hutt, who is just such a character that I didn't know what I was going to get. I thought I was really going to get like Jeremy White doing Nicha Wucha Gika or whatever, that kind of thing. But no, he just speaks English. I think he went in knowing that this was going to be a project that he just really wanted to pour his heart into. And I'm betting all of them, just like him, probably really love Star Wars. And he gives such a performance where you really care about this guy, especially knowing where he came from with that Clone Wars movie. And I just got to give a fun shout out to that. I really love what they did with this character and how they built him up as being like this, you know, best version of the Huts and just like a really good guy. I also love some of the little side characters that we got going in here, like some of the villains. We got like this one bounty hunter guy who is, I think, from the Clone Wars era. I think he worked with Cad Bane and that whole team. I could be wrong, but he looked very familiar and iconic to me, and he definitely stood out with his little dog. So that was a lot of fun as well. Even though this isn't a traditional Star Wars movie, I think the action is still very much there and on point. You get a lot of the cool stuff that they did in The Mandalorian, but with the bigger budget, you also get just a lot of cool inferences on like how high they can go, how fast and far they can go, all the effects and stuff that they can just throw at the screen that they might not would have been able to do with the show. There also is just a lot of funny moments. I knew that this was probably going to be a funny little movie as it is definitely made for kids, and none of them really stood out to me as like jokes that I couldn't vibe with or I couldn't love. Even when you have like little bitty characters running around who are like baby, like those little guys from The Mandalorian. Once they just show up and they go on like their own little adventures and they start hanging out, I, as much as I shouldn't like it, it's like the Ewoks. I just feel like I can't not hate it because they're just so cute, and I just want to hold them. With that being said, I definitely think the visuals for this movie are pretty good. I don't think there was really a moment where like something stood out to me as kind of wonky. Maybe the main alien bounty hunter guy and some of the dark shadows, weirdly enough. But all the effects, all the monsters, all the creatures, the world building, the size of it all, especially that dragon at the end, I think they all brought it home really well for this movie. And Yeah, I don't think they could have done it with a TV budget if I'm being fair enough. I also very much appreciate that you don't have to watch The Mandalorian to understand this. Obviously, watching the show very much helps to know what you're getting into, but I like that with this movie you can just jump right in with these characters. You understand who the Mandalorian is, you understand who Grogu is, you understand this relationship between the two, you understand what mission they're going to do, and all the characters in this are either characters that are new or you just haven't experienced from other media, and they all play a role that works out very well in my opinion. I also think that that is another great aspect to this movie. Even though it's kind of retreading certain things, I like that this movie is about a father son dynamic with both what the villain has to go through with their arc and the Huts, and what Din Djarin and Grogu have to go through as like master saves the apprentice, apprentice saves the master. I think it was just a nice little theme that definitely works, and I like that they kept to that for The Mandalorian and Grogu. I also got to give a shout out to the music. It's a lot of the stuff from The Mandalorian, but I like that they put in some of the Star Wars themes, and I like that they kept up that sort of that Western bounty hunter outlawness going on with the movie. I really think there was just a lot of moments where I was like, man, I'm really digging the look of this, the vibe of it, the feel of it. And yeah, I think there's just, you know, just that vibe of The Mandalorian that everyone loves so much. And they brought it to a really nice movie. Another thing that I really liked about this movie was the aspect of the ending and the final battle. I really like all the stuff that they wrapped up with the Huts and how that worked out. I really like how they kind of grew as like a three-man team with Din Djarin, Grogu, and Jabba's son. And I kind of felt a little something when they saved his life at the end there, man. I think that's a good thing when movies do that. I really like that. Getting into the mixed tier, I will say that at least a little bit of a mixed issue that I had with it is that a lot of the shots in this movie and its look, it is The Mandalorian, and I like that. But when I'm watching a movie, I expected them to do something more cinematic or give more out there wild shots. A lot of it just felt like a lot of the same stuff that I could get from the TV show. Not that I don't like that, but I don't know. I guess I was just expecting something to pop, and it just never quite got there, but I'm not super disappointed in it. Moving on straight into my negatives, and I do have a few here that I think holds this movie back and kind of bums me out overall. First off, I think the first half is leagues above the best part of this movie. The entire moment where we see Din Djarin and Grogu going after some of these Republic or Galactic Empire people and hunting them down, and the story that he has to go on with the Huts and saving Jabba's son, and that middle portion, that just kind of felt like the best part of the movie to me. That just kind of felt like, yes, we're locked in, we have a story. Din Djarin's going to do this. Grogu's teaming up with him. We're meeting all these cool characters, building out the world of Star Wars, and we're even getting introduced to the main character Jabba, Jabba's son. Forgetting his name, sorry, but and we're tagging along with all these other guys. But by the middle of the movie, they kind of just like feels like the pacing kind of hardcore stops and cuts out. The other half of this movie was okay, well, we did everything that we needed to do for the first half. Now Din Djarin's kind of just reacting to what needs to happen. Like, oh, there's these people chasing us, and oh, the Huts are after me, and oh, we gotta stop them and make sure that we're free to walk away. And there's also just a lot of moments where it's like he's knocked out and Baby Yoda's trying to help him, and I just didn't really care for that. It's so slow, and the pacing just doesn't match what the first half was doing. And a lot of that just doesn't work for me. It's like, will the character die? Will he not die? It's like, guys, just make a choice here. This will definitely, I'll definitely be bringing this up when we get into the whole aspect that I have overall about where what this project was supposed to be and the fact of crunching it into a movie like this. I also just don't think the villains are that interesting. For the first half, you have like this Imperial guy that they're just hunting, but he's just like a random bald headed bad guy. And then you have the Huts who are intimidating somewhat, but they're not really memorable. They're just the classic gangster villains. They're the Huts. Of course, you're supposed to hate them, except for the good one who is like our other main protagonist who steals a lot of the spotlight in this movie. I just really don't like that this movie feels like it got going really good. It hits a point and then it just kind of stops and slows down, and then it's got to pick back up again because some things happen, and then everyone's just reacting to it and hoping that they can survive and make it through. And I don't know, I don't care for it, but yeah, Obviously, I think the biggest negative that's kind of going to bum everyone out is that this feels like season 4 of the TV show, just kind of shrunken down, maybe pulling out a couple episodes there where we'd go off and do something cool with maybe Bo Katan or something, and just trimming it down to just, you know, two of the main episodes and then two of the other main episodes, and then crunching that into a 30-minute movie. And first half's really good, but then it doesn't feel like it quite gets there with the second half. And I think I just would have preferred it if this was season 4 instead of a movie. Now, for me, this isn't as bad as, say, like the Marvel movies that are clearly just a 2 hour movie that they balloon into an 8 episode series, but it kind of has that same vibe of it feels like you're missing more and they cut a lot out. The pacing just never gets there to me, and it kind of just bums me out that all I can really do is just kind of laugh and smile and just enjoy the movie instead of like really getting engaged with it and feeling like this is a real cinematic experience. It never gets there for me. It never feels like this movie is really trying to rise above the TV-ness of it all and really showcase stuff. There's some effects like the whole snake dragon thing that was really cool, and I don't know how you would have done that in a TV show, but for the most part, I think everything else in the movie just felt like, yeah, you could totally just do that with the show. You did that with the show before. At the same time, this isn't a movie that's really that deep or compelling with its story. It has a nice little emotional beat with all the characters and ties up the loose ends nice, but it doesn't really feel like it has that big of an impact with the rest of the shows going on. It mentions stuff about the Empire coming back, but we don't really get into all that. We just kind of go on this small little journey that Mando and Grogu are a part of and they get wrapped up in. And I don't know, I just don't feel like that's the movie you want from Mandalorian and Grogu. I feel like you want something more big and epic. And this just kind of felt like a nice little movie that you could just watch with the family at home. I definitely don't think I needed to spend $80 to go to the Regal Exchange in Augusta to go watch this movie. Obviously, I think it's no shock that with this movie, it was going to be season 4 of The Mandalorian, and then out of nowhere, I think either Kathleen Kennedy or everyone just agreed, hey, this is a show and a series of Star Wars that is very popular. Let's use it as a gateway to get people to go back to the theaters and watch some fucking Star Wars. It feels like they're trying to earn our trust back by saying, hey, we finally put a movie out in theaters. Please go watch it and get ready for Star Wars Starfighter. Nowhere at all in this movie do I think it actually feels like Star Wars is back. Star Wars is in the big screen. It's for us. It's for the people. It feels like we're winning again. It feels like we're at a high point. It just kind of feels like, hey, we need to put a movie out because we ain't done so in so long, and we can't just keep doing TV shows. Let's take something that's safe, it's bettable, it's winnable. Maybe put like $100 million budget into it, and we're gonna win it back. I don't like when studios like this play with our emotions and try and trick us into thinking we're gonna really watch an actual Mando movie, when in reality, I'm just watching what could have been a really good season 4, and it turns into an okay movie, which is sad because I love Star Wars. I want to watch all the Star Wars stuff, but I just can't get into it all nowadays. It all feels fragmented and separated, and it feels like we've burned so much of what just could have, should have been amazing. I guess maybe I need to make a video more about diving into my thoughts on Lucasfilm and Disney and how they've treated the property, and overall with all the other films. But that's a story for another time. Even though I said you could watch this movie with not having seen The Mandalorian, I think there are things that are like, ooh, yeah, you like that a lot more after having watched the show. And I guess the biggest thing is that I hope people watch this movie and go back and watch The Mandalorian if they haven't. I think it's really sad because I care about Star Wars. I have a lot of feelings for it. I've grown to love it ever since The Force Awakens, but I feel like maybe Star Wars Starfighter is going to be the bigger movie that I'm looking forward to over this one. I don't know. It just kind of felt like I'm watching the TV show without experiencing all the big major episodes and just condensed into 2 hours that feels uneven and unpaced. Overall, I still enjoyed this movie. I think it's a fun time. I definitely think if you have the money, go see it. Obviously, it's like $20 a person. I had to pay 80 just for 4 people. So maybe you might just want to wait and see it on streaming. It definitely feels like a movie that you'd want to watch over and over. Definitely would say is the highest, maybe the second place of all the spin-off movies in my opinion, but overall I just don't really think it's a movie that really should have been a movie, and it doesn't feel that cinematic. I think for me this comes in at 3.5 credits out of 5. Thank you so much for checking out this review for The Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't usually just off the top of my head do reviews like this, but this just kind of felt like a movie I needed to get my first reactions, my first thought out there, at least my first little mini review for it. And I'm really happy to have gone and seen it and watched it with my family. But, let me know what you thought. Have you seen the movie yet? Are you waiting for it to come out on streaming? Make sure to like, comment, let me know what you think of this review, and I hope to keep putting more videos out there. Gear up and gear out.